Uh, Considering events and everything that was going on in the world, uh, we didn't feel like it was appropriate on Thursday to be brash about what we were going to say. So we took that day. We continued to go to work and press forward, and we came together as players, and we came with a statement. We made a stance, and we thought that there was nobody better than Coach Mike Tomlin to deliver that because of who he is in the NFL and who he is as a person. And that's what we decided to do. We decided to come together, lock arms, and make a stand and show compassion because even though that we may be in the NFL and that we're professional athletes, we're still very sympathetic to everything going on, and we still feel that.
You know, we can't be blind in what's going on. We've seen too many injustices to be silent, and our community's hurt day in and day out. And I'm left with the question, why? As we are held accountable on the field, we want to be accountable off the field, and we feel others should be as well. Along with that, we didn't want to just give a statement. We understand statements do a lot, but not enough. And going forward, we want to have action behind that. And through, our organization, the Steelers, and everybody through this, I think we're going to have a lot of change going forward. With that change, we understand it's not going to be done in 1 day or 2 days. We want something attainable that is going to be long-lasting, constant, and provide a better way for our children. As Black men, as you see today, when we see these injustices happen day in and day out, we see ourselves, we see our children, we see our fathers, we see our sons, we see our friends being shot and killed. And for us to stay idly by and not make a difference, that's a responsibility we can't give up. And we've come together over this off season to make committees to move forward, whether it's our voter engagement in helping voter suppression and getting rid of that. We've even had talks about trying to do a voter hub, and the Steelers have been very receptive about that. Community and police forums and criminal justice forums, working on not only policy but also police culture to hold others accountable, and education and community investment as well. We understand we have to invest in our community. We understand we have to invest in our children. And through these opportunities, those are the ways we can make change. We understand the job's not done. We understand that we are only the minority in this situation, but we have a job to do, and we want to make sure we take advantage of that.
All right. We'll turn it over to some questions. We'll start with Jerry Dulac. Jerry, go ahead.
Hey, fellas. Good morning. For the last couple of years, you two, along with Marquise, have been very active with the Pittsburgh police and other departments trying to improve relations in the Black community. What can you guys do to strengthen what you've already been able to do so far?
I think, you kind of hit it on the head. Pouncey has done so much, and he had to run out, but and he speaks a lot for us, giving back to our community and creating that relationship. But we understand we get to meet the good cops, but there are cops not being held accountable. Simple as that. We have an opportunity to strengthen that, and to strengthen that when we say the good cops stay in place, but the bad cops don't get to keep policing us. Those are things we can do, whether it's a relationship in the community. We talk about how police forces aren't diverse enough, but to do that, we have to be in these communities. We have to be in the schools. So those young children see that Black people can be cops and they don't feel as threatened. And then the Black people who are cops are able to have relationships and they're able to understand people. This is not something that's just going to be done in 1 day. This is something we're going to have to stay on top of. from here on out. And even during the season, even though we're playing games, we want to stay on top of it as well.
Absolutely. This actually started. We actually met 3 years ago with Police Chief Heyward, and we wanted to get out there and just try to change the perception of police in the community, because we understand the police relations with the community in Pittsburgh. These are things that we're doing. So we're just not an organization of making, brash or bold statements. We're encouraged to actually go out into our communities and to take things on as a personal approach to it. And I think that's what we really do. Since we get the opportunity to do that, I think that's what we like to focus on. And I think we've been getting it done, but we just, got to be more diligent about it. We got to apply more pressure. We got to be better about it. And I think that's what we're going to focus on. I think that's where you're going to see our attention focused on as we move forward with this.
All right, we'll go to Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Brooke, go ahead.
Hey guys, in 2017, I know that we haven't had a game to know how the anthem's going to be handled at this point. But in 2017, the plan was to stay in the locker room and to, as Coach Tomlin said, not play politics and not participate in that. But this time, it seems like you guys are much more out in front and having the display of unity before the scrimmage last night. What's changed? Why talk about everything now and be so open about it?
We've always talked about everything. I think personally, I can speak from just being here. Miss Rooney's developed a culture and instilled a culture that we talk about anything and everything with anybody in our building, from the top to the bottom. If I'm having a problem in my life or I'm having a situation that confuses me, I can talk to Mr. Rooney about it directly, because he's in the building with me every single day. We have casual conversations with anybody in our building. Doesn't matter their race, creed, religion, any of that. Anybody that, put their hand in the pile and is a Steeler, we have open dialogue with them, and we treat them like they're part of the family. So we never really are put in situations where we feel like we have to go out and make these bold public stances, because we're encouraged to do whatever we want to do to help our community individually. And I can go ask anybody in the Steeler family about what I need to do to get that done, and they're going to do their best to help me out. So I think that now that we're seeing the need and people in the community want to hear from us, we're here and we're going to speak. But we just never felt pressed to speak, because we get to go about our life and talk about these things and deal with these things. And we get to get out in our community personally and deal with these things, just as pedestrians and on our own. I don't know the answer.
All righty, we'll go on to Mike Prizzuta. Mike, go ahead.
This would be for both of you guys, if you would. Was there something specific about Mike Tomlin's words last night that really resonated with you?
I think for me personally, and I think we both have had conversations with Coach T personally about it. We all have children, and what we're looking at right now is not going to get it done for our children in the future. We've had Mason and Dino come over many times, and to know that they're growing up in a world where they're not accepted is unacceptable. My children, Vince's children, they're going to have to see this play out. And the fact that it's getting played out repetitively, and it's becoming a theme, and it's becoming something that's just so natural is just unacceptable to me. Coach T speaks from the heart, and sometimes he doesn't want to just speak for the group, but we felt like this was an opportunity for Coach to speak to the group, because we all felt like we were in the same situation as him.
All righty, we'll move on to Christopher Carter. Christopher, go ahead.
Hey guys, this question's for both of you. What is your takeaway from being a professional athlete in this point in sports history? There's been plenty of you're both black men. There's been plenty of black athletes that have spoken out in the cause of civil rights throughout history, and now you guys are in the middle of what may be one of the most historic moments in athletes speaking out for the cause of civil rights and against police brutality and asking for change in our country. What's you guys' feeling on being in this moment and seeing all the change around you?
Me, I'm encouraged by it. You know, a lot of times people say that, you know, sports should stay out of politics, politics should stay out of sports. But if you look back into history, that's never been the case. So I think that I'm encouraged by it because people take what I say seriously, even though that I'm just a football player. I say it like that, but I am a human and I do go through things. You know, my kids have a different situation growing up that I'm going to have. And I have a perspective about that. And I also have a perspective about raising my kids in a different environment than I was raised in. And I think me being able to talk to people about that and have conversations about that, it's just going to help anybody. It's going to help everybody. It's going to help me grow. It's going to help people I come in contact with grow. And if they're going to listen to me because I'm a football player, then I'm encouraged by that because I feel like I'm going to give people an accurate depiction of what's going on.
Yeah, along with that, I would just say, we do a lot in the community, and when we see these instances, we can't be hypocrites. And I can't look my child in the eyes and say, I'm fighting for your future, and I want you to succeed when I see this stuff happen. The one thing I am very happy about is to see all these different people speak and to see the resources we've had that are way different than the 1960s, where we get to speak our minds and we get to reach a lot more people. And we have to continue to do that. Moving forward, I just hope there's real change to come of that.
Just a reminder, please use your raise your hand function if you'd like to ask a question. And with that, we'll move on to Joe Rutter. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for doing this, guys. As media and people on this conference, I'm guessing the majority of us in the media are white. What can we do a better job of getting your message out? And are there things that we need to report more on that we haven't? And any suggestions in that area?
I think along with that, you guys hold a lot of power, and you never know who's watching. We get to see all the camera functions and the video cameras on everybody's phone be parts of history. But we just ask that when we do make this change, that it's written down, that it's, that's covered. Me and Vince come from different communities, but we are going to make a change. And we just ask that it's reported, because we want to provide an outlook where, we're optimistic about our future, where, children see that they can be the next Vince Williams, they can be the next Cam Heyward, or they can be a doctor or a police officer. But to do that, we really have to see positive changes.
All right, we'll move on to Aditi Kinkwabala. Aditi, go ahead.
Hey guys, if you'll just bear with me for a minute here. We have seen some people be very, very open. Coach Brian Flores in Miami has talked about having a gun pulled on him. Anthony Lynn out in LA has talked about personal experiences that are patently unfair. You've said you've taken some time to think about this, and Coach Tomlin has sort of multiple times now in the last year told us that he has warned all of you that the words that you say may be weaponized, may be used against you. And of course, both of you remember what happened 3 years ago after that game in Chicago. So having said all of that, how do you balance fear in speaking up? What do you say to people on your team, be they coaches or players, who have anxiety about speaking up or may feel pressure to speak up when they don't necessarily want to? And how did the two of you balance the feeling of, okay, it's time to take a position and inject ourselves into this conversation?
I can't speak for Cam, but to answer your question for me personally, we always speak up inside of our locker room. These are things that we talk about all the time. So nobody ever feels like their voice is repressed or they can't speak up. I mean, I've been making politically charged tweets. Ramon Foster makes politically charged tweets. We get free range to express ourselves. So we never felt like we were in a predicament where we couldn't say whatever we wanted to say. When the situation happened 3 years ago, Mr. Rooney addressed us and told us, handle it the way that we wanted to handle it. When we came back and we wanted to we wanted Mike T to make a statement for us, we told them how we want to proceed it, and we were supported top to bottom. I mean, that's just how it works. So I can't really say that. I mean, everybody's encouraged to speak up. So everybody's just, it's like, yo, if you feel like you need to say something that's going to encourage people, say it, but just don't be negligent and always be professional and keep it classy. That's what we're encouraged to do.
Yeah, I think along with that is we're up here today. We're not just speaking for ourselves. We're an outlet of our team. You know, there are guys that want things to be said, but don't know how to always voice them. We're outlets for that as well. You know, we all have a voice and we all want to do things that are near and dear in our hearts. But we don't always know how to put that together. And sometimes we need the knowledge to understand and to be well informed. You know, we have a lot of different heads that might have seen different things in the past, whether it's an Al Villanueva or if it's Ben Roethlisberger or it's a Marquise Pouncey. But with that, we're not just going to do this thing, you know, half. You know, we want to be full tilt, a part of the cause, and to move forward, going with it. You know, and we get to a point where we just can't say stuff. You know, and if we just say things, then we're just doing half of our jobs.
All right, we got time for a couple more. We'll go to Noah Strackbean. Noah, go ahead.
Hey guys, the other day we talked to Ben, and he said that, you know, his stance on this is that he just wants to listen to all of you guys in the locker room. What would your message be to him, or has been to him, if you've already talked to him about it?
I think that's between us. You know, if he's not ready to talk about it and he just wants to listen, we're going to give him that. You know, knowledge is power, and he's making his own decision. But for me to share that with you wouldn't be right by me.
All righty, we'll wrap it up with the follow-up. Brooke, go ahead.
As you mentioned, the different social justice committees, and I was just curious which ones you guys are specifically involved in. And also in 2017, like we've talked about, the plan was to stay in the locker room unified. Is there room this time for individual expressions or demonstrations or whatever you want to call them during the national anthem or anything like that during a game?
That's not something that we've actually discussed, but there's always room for it. We've never been hindered in any way. Nobody's ever told us what we couldn't do. That's just not how we get down. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to come together as a team collectively and talk about it, because that's more in line with how we do business here. But, I mean, I don't know.
And then along with that, you know, personally, I've been involved in the police forums, the community. You know, there are some policies that, you know, overdue for change in our community. You know, whether it's Act 111 that needs to be reformed, along with that, you know, banning chokeholds, which has already been passed by the Senate, by the way, but is waiting to be passed in the House Judiciary Committee. Demilitarizing the police, you know, making it a charge for false reporting based on race, and an independent citizen law enforcement review board, which ties directly into Act 111. Those are things we can do in whether it's lobbying or speaking with different communities, leaders, to help make that change.
Qualified immunity as well.